Kia ora, everyone. So I'm Laura, and I do apologise. I'm going to be reading quite a bit of this from a paper because I didn't know about this presentation until very recently. So my journey into the heritage sector started when I was pretty young. I was influenced by architecture and history as I grew up in England, and by my dad, who is now retired, but he was an architect. And everywhere we went, he would tell us about the places and buildings. So it was pretty inevitable that I ended up in this career. As a late teen, I travelled to New Zealand, where I fell in love with the culture, natural beauty here. And I enrolled in CPIT, which I think is now ARA, and I studied a degree in architecture. And once I completed the BA in architecture, I found myself wanting to do more in heritage. So once I graduated, I changed direction. And I went on to a career as a makeup artist and managed a makeup counter, for which I did for a number of years. Though this line of work ticked all the right boxes for me, so it was creative, did business management, there was still something that was missing. So I came across a career in conservation, which I'd never heard of. I didn't understand the career at all, but it really piqued my interest. So I moved back to England, where I undertook a postgraduate and later a master's in the conservation of historical objects at the University of Lincoln. Whilst I was being interviewed at the university for the postgraduate, not only obviously did the degree come in handy, it showed that I could study and kept at something for 3 years, and obviously it was in architecture and it's sort of not heritage, but obviously artistic. But what they really picked up on was my career as a makeup artist, because it showed my dexterity and attention to detail, which in the conservation of historical objects is really important. So my master dissertation was on how to conserve, store and display tongomare within the museums in the UK. As my time back in the UK, visiting museums had highlighted the need around advice for displaying tongomare. During the masters, I had the opportunity to intern at Te Papa in Wellington, where I worked on a collection from Papua New Guinea. The subject for my dissertation also saw me consulting a number of museums in the UK and help them with the labelling of tongomare and helping them understand tikanga when approaching their storage solutions. So after my master's, I became a freelance conservator and worked on, one of the jobs I worked on was Osborne House. That's part of it. Osborne House is on the Isle of Wight and belonged to Queen Victoria. I worked alongside construction workers, brickies and masons from London on the restoration of the terrace. The work, which myself and 2 other conservators did, was the conservation and the restoration of the shell alcove. This included carefully removing layers of paint, reinstating shells, consolidating surfaces, tile repairs and full redecoration. The conservators that I was working for actually told me about another company that they'd worked for called Cliveden Conservation, which was one of the UK's leading heritage conservation companies. So I decided to arrange a meeting with the general manager, and he offered me a permanent position as assistant to the head of the plaster section. I had no experience with plaster, and so I learned pretty much on the job and pretty quickly. Whilst I was in this position, I was also responsible for managing projects, and this is where I felt was the journey I wanted to be. I wanted to pursue a career in project management. So many projects later in training, I became a project manager for the architectural projects department. These projects were varied, working on private homes and buildings that belonged to National Trust, English Heritage, Westminster and the Royal Households, and projects ranged from stone masonry, gilding, metalwork, ornate plaster ceilings again. But I wanted to also broaden my knowledge of management, so I also went and did an NVQ6 in site management and run my own sites. So this job Here is a multi-million-pound project where I managed a number of men. So 20 years later, and with the experience of following different paths, which obviously a lot of us have been talking about, and a lot of different opportunities, I now work for the Department of Conservation as the National Heritage Project Manager. Here I'm going to be managing the budget spend on heritage projects throughout New Zealand, on heritage projects within the Department of Conservation managed land. And supporting managers like Christina, who's awesome, picking up large projects when needed. And as part of the Reset program, help to implement, support and encourage the heritage portfolio within the Department of Conservation. So, like many of us have said, I started in one place, down one path, same one as my dad did, wanted to be an architect. Then I chose to change direction, restudy, became a conservator. I worked as a conservator, and then another path was offered to me, and this one in management, which collated a lot of my skills that I had gained throughout the years. And now, very recently, started a new role back in New Zealand. My journey to where I am today wasn't linear, it wasn't pre-planned, but I wasn't afraid to take new opportunities and ways to learn. And this paragraph here really represents, again, what a lot of us have said, is that I found working in heritage sector that no two people are alike. No one has the same past, the same journeys, none of us have the same passions, specialities and backgrounds. We all intertwine, and it's a fascinating place to work in. The places you see, the places you're involved in, and the people that you meet. And yeah, all the best with everything.